Right, so we are with Troy Little and Brenda Hickey here at the Komiksowa Warszawa. Hi.
Hello.
Hello.
And we are with Marcin, Łuczak, Kasia, Kamieniarz. Well, before I ask the first question, formally first question, I would like to ask you, how do you enjoy Poland, Spain in Poland? Is it your first time in Poland?
Yes, it is our first time in Poland, and we're very much enjoying it. It's very lovely here. The people are so nice and so welcoming.
You can say the truth.
It's true, though.
It is true. Everybody's been super awesome. Super awesome.
Yeah, we're really enjoying our time here.
Most of the time when I heard that somebody is coming to Poland from overseas, the first thing they try to eat is pierogi.
Oh,
Did you eat
yes.
pierogi?
Yes.
First thing I ate was
thing.
pierogies.
It's, it's the thing. Yes,
Yeah,
you
what
have
you
to have
had
it
the
first.
soup.
Oh, the zirk soup was the first thing I ate, actually.
Oh.
Yeah.
And I had pierogies.
Yeah, I tasted his pierogies, though he shared.
Yeah, well, a few years ago we have in Poznań Cameron Stewart as a guest at one of the festivals, and first day he arrived in Poland, he wrote on the Twitter that I ate every pierogies that Poznań had in the city. So I was just curious, is it truly that the first thing everyone wants to try is pierogi in Poland?
It is.
It's the most.
Yeah.
I think it's
It's
the most
famous?
famous. Like
Yeah.
that's the one you hear about the most often overseas is pierogies.
And our pierogies in North America that I've had are like frozen,
We don't
awful,
have
terrible
We
things.
don't have a Polish restaurant in our city. So.
Yeah. So we don't get.
We're from a small town though, so of course it's a little limited for international, but international foods. We're growing.
All right, okay, so Poland, Polish cuisine, all right.
Yes.
Good to know.
Yes.
So that's
Yes,
a good
check.
start. I would like to ask you, because you have pretty impressive portfolio in the meaning of the titles you're working on. A lot of famous titles, brands. And I have released like My Little Pony,
Yes.
Powerpuff Girls, Rick and Morty. And this is correct, Judge Dredd, X-Files.
I just
Yeah, that was just a short comics I did. They were based on the Funko toys, the big square-headed toys.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they did a Funko takes over the IDW universe for 1
Oh
month.
yes, yeah.
So I did an X-Files short comic and a Judge Dredd one as well. Judge Dredd was fun because he's got the big helmet.
Yeah.
So drawing that on the big square head was like perfect.
So I was wondering, working with such big brands, how much creative control is there in the meaning of before you start working on illustrating or writing the whole thing, do you need to have approve from somebody, some people or company that yes, you can do this, but you cannot do this and this and this?
Right. With My Little Pony, IDW has the license with Hasbro because My Little Pony is a toy. So they're pretty good actually. They give me a lot of freedom to bring my own style and my own personality in the drawing. So as you can see, there's lots of different artists on the title, and everybody brings a different thing. So as long as you're on model enough that they can tell, and every now and then they'll have a thing, you can't do this, you can do this, but it's never been a headache. It's always been very fluid, very manageable and easy, and I've always liked that it's got an individual.
Could you give any example of what you can't do?
An example of what you can't do.
Like the last thing you remember that somebody told you, well, we can't really do that because
Right.
something.
I can tell you a weird one.
Yeah.
For Rick and Morty, for example, I mean, if you're familiar with the show at all, and this isn't going to work well on radio, but I can't do this in the comic.
Oh,
And that's
middle
Rick and
finger.
Morty. Like,
That's
so-
strange.
Yeah.
I actually will think the first thing you actually can do it is
With
is
Rick.
showing it. Yeah.
Yeah.
They said no, so I had to actually go into the comic and just make them point.
Yeah.
So what
Pointy
is-
finger.
So what is the rating of the Rick and Morty book? Is it teenage?
Yeah, I mean, I could almost let my kids read it. It's very much, well, the one that I did anyways. I can't speak for the other books in the series, but the
Alright.
Rick and Morty versus Dungeons and Dragons series I do. It's not as raunchy as the TV show. Like the words are censored. and things like that, you know. So I could almost let my kids read it.
Almost. Yeah. With ponies, I feel like the art, there's not anything I've been told you cannot specifically do this in the art, but I've come across stories I've been collaborating on with writers, and you know, the Hasbro will be like, oh, ponies can't do that. Like, for instance, the ones that speak in the language have to be hoofed. Like the ponies have hooves, because there was one issue I did and there was jackals and they looked like just normal jackals and they spoke, and Hasbro was like, no, they have to be more mythical creatures if they're going to speak, because otherwise if it's a normal animal, the hoofed ones talk, so the donkeys talk, the cows talk, the ponies talk, but they have pets, so bunnies and dogs don't talk. There's a bit of a weird logic to it, as all things with animals that have pets.
Like Goofy and Pluto.
Yeah, there's always weird logic with these kind of animal stories, but that's the Hasbro logic for ponies is that thing. That's the one thing, but that's more like the writer had to know that first before it came to me, so it's kind of in the stories. But art-wise, I don't think I've ever drawn anything they said you can't do that.
Yeah.
So, because the story's pretty much decided by the time it comes to me, so those things are already figured out.
Well, I also wonder about the Powerpuff Girls, because I heard that when Ryan North was writing Adventure Time comic book, on one of the conventions he said that before he could, every time he had script, he needed to give it to Cartoon Network to approval.
Yes.
And Powerpuff Girls are also Cartoon Network. So did you have similar experience in that matter?
Yeah, I was fortunate for the Powerpuff Girls to be both the writer and the artist. In a lot of cases, we might be hired as licensors just to do the art. In the odd case, I can write the stories as well. So they let me write the Powerpuff Girls, and it was a matter of submit the story. And the first story that I had submitted, my editor kind of got in and said, you know, that's a good idea, but can you make that bigger, like a bigger story, you know? This is a good
A plot, B plot.
Yeah, this is a good B plot, what's your A plot? So I had to go back and rethink my idea, and then I had a bigger, better story. Like that's where the editor came in really handy to help flesh it out.
What's the thing with the A plot and B plot?
It's kind of like there's a main storyline that's happening, but underneath it or along the same lines in the parallel, there's other little things happening just to flesh it out and give it a bigger story.
So basically you had a B plot and you needed to go through something bigger, right?
Was the I'm sorry because I don't remember quite well because I read it some time ago, but was the B plot the plot with the him?
Yeah, I think originally I had plotted out that take Mojo Jojo away, like he reverts to his monkey form, and then I had to have that power vacuum where I got to pull in all the other characters from the Powerpuff Girls. And it was the first new Powerpuff Girl comic since it went off the air before the reboot. Yeah. So I wanted to like get in and bring back the Gangrene Gang and Fuzzy Lumpkins and all the bad villains. So it was a good way to kind of like pull them into the forefront and also have this little side thing happening of Mojo's ultimate plan as part of the background plot.
Yeah, the thing brewing under the surface.
Yeah.
I was quite impressed by the beginning of this story because it was quite sad, and the tone of it was very sad and depressing. I was like, is he going to electric chair or what? And I was, how did they allow you to do such thing?
That's funny because we were just talking about approval, right? So for the cover for number 2, it kind of looks like, and my editor called me on this, he says, it looks like you're killing Mojo Jojo.
Because it looks like he's in a gas chamber.
Yeah. Yes. I'm like, oh, wait, okay.
Yeah, that is, so you made it like happy pink smoke or something.
Yeah, I said, okay, when it's colored, it's going to be all like chemical smoke and molecules, and I'll put chemical X on the side.
Yeah,
I'll make it clear that we're not gassing him. It's like, oh boy. So
you draw these things sometimes and you know what you mean, so you almost don't realize how it might look to somebody else. So that's what the editor's good to be like, have you considered seeing it from this point of view? Like, good thing you said that before it went to the public and everybody got outraged.
Yeah. So that's a case where, you know, that got called and we fixed it right away kind of thing, you know. But it's usually just little things like that. You know, you submit the story, you get approval or notes if there's anything they want to change, and then it goes to the art. You do all the pencil drawings before you go to ink it so that they have a look at that, and if there's anything that they have a problem with or they think should be changed, they make a note. So before you do the finished art, they kind of know what they're going to get. So they're happy, the licensor's happy, the publisher's happy,
Yeah.
and there's not a lot of problems. Everyone's happy.
Yeah, the goal is to make everybody happy. Make everybody's life as easy as possible, so you're not stressing anybody.
And it happens fast, like within
Yes.
20
Yeah.
days to do a comic kind of thing, you know? All
Yeah.
the pencils and the inks and the plotting and stuff, so
Yeah.
it happens fast.
Yes.
Brenda, I was wondering because My Little Pony is quite big
Yes.
in the fandom. There's a lot of fans, and when you started working with My Little Pony, did you gather new readers because of the My Little Pony book?
Yeah, definitely. The point of getting on the pony books was for me, I'm like, it's something kind of close to my natural style and sensibilities, and I like the stories. So I'll kind of use that as a way to kind of get some readers. But yeah, my world really expanded once the ponies started. I almost didn't even realize the scope of it. It's like, of course, ponies are popular, but I had no idea. I mostly did it because, like I said, the sensibilities, the art style, and just the humor style very much suited what I like to tell naturally. So that was the draw more than I was chasing a popular thing. It was more for this reason.
So, when you are at the conventions, do you have more people older than they're supposed to be? I mean, in your the readers, are those kids, or are they either more adult people, or is it mixed?
It can be mixed, yes, but especially in North America and in the United States, there's a lot of My Little Pony exclusive conventions. That's where a lot of the bronies go, and they're all very kind, and it does have a wide appeal, especially for people on like the Asperger's autism spectrum. So these people very much connect to the message of inclusivity and like inclusiveness and like the positive. And for them, I'm really happy because I know it can be hard to be in these crowds, but they're all out there and celebrating something that means so much to them. So I'm really glad that I can help them with that too. So, and the kids, of course, it's good to see them because you could be their first comic, and that's very exciting. It's very exciting. You see a parent come up with their kid, and they got this beat up comic that you drew, and they're like, the parents say, I read this a lot at bedtime, and she wouldn't read before this comic, and now she wants to read everything because this comic
Or draw
the ponies. I've got lots of sketches from kids of ponies.
Yeah, you'll get
really
kids bringing drawings up to you.
This one local guy, his daughter, she'll always come to my table every time. He says, I work on the superhero stuff, and my daughter she doesn't care. She goes right for your table. And she draws little cards saying, you're almost as cool as Rainbow Dash, and it's pretty sweet. So, you're as cool, or 20% cool, or whatever. Whatever she says, she'll have little cards. They're so cute. Yeah.
From your perspective, do you think that Brenda, the My Little Pony, is something that will be something like, I don't know, such icons like Batman and Superman, in the meaning of that they will be like for many years later still something very important to the audience, and some years there will be new people who will come to this fandom, and it will be like eternal or something.
Yeah, I think so, because it is hitting that younger generation, and it's it's my hope that I'll see these kids grow up to be adults and maybe do their own books someday, and they'll be like, these are the books that made me feel like as a little girl I could do this as a grown-up too, just like you. So that's also very positive and inspiring to know that you could help, especially like more girls get into it, because these stories are meant for them. I know it's hit that demographic unexpectedly, but it is meant for the girls. So I like to know that they're encouraged that could be an option for them if they've got the passion for it. So.
Troy, you mentioned that your comic book was released some time after the original cartoon was stopped airing. So I was wondering, from your perspective, when the book was released, did you have more readers who just started the adventure with Powerpuff Girls, or there were more people who were watching the cartoon when they were kids? Now they are adults and they started to buy your book.
I found once I would go to a show with the book on the table, it would hit the nostalgia really quick with people. And because Powerpuff Girls is great for, girls, boys love it because it's action and they kick butt, like they're so great. And adults will watch it because it's funny, so it kind of hits everybody. It's one of those weird shows that just works for everybody.
Yeah.
And so people who watched it and loved it grew up, and now they're like, I'm going to watch it again with my kids. And so now their kids are getting to watch it. It's like, it's actually cartoon parents want to watch, and then not something they have to watch, like Paw Patrol or something, But it's actually really good, so they want to show their kids. But I'll have people just gasp when they come by the table and they'll see Powerpuff Girls, like, and it's like, I was Bubbles and I was Blossom and my sister was Buttercup, and and I've seen some great people just doing cosplay variations of it. I've seen guys dressed as the Powerpuff Girls and him, and one of the best ones I ever saw was in San Diego. They had a guy dressed as Mojo Jojo and his little baby daughter dressed as Bubbles sitting on his shoulder.
Aww.
And she would punch him in the head.
Oh.
Yeah.
It was great. So it seems to be I don't know, I guess, really good for the nostalgia, as well as the next generation kind of are being fed to it by their parents, kind of thing, who loved it as well.
Yeah.
Guys, do you have any questions?
I just want to ask about your work with Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
Oh yeah.
It's very far from Powerpuff Girls and Rick Morty.
Yeah.
What was the difficulties when you are adapting Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas from Hunter Thompson? It's a lot of taking drugs, drink alcohol and other stuff, and
Adult
it's
stuff.
Yeah.
just adult stuff.
And the funny thing is, I was working on Powerpuff Girls at the time. When I got in, I was submitting some artwork, and here's these week's pages, and they said, oh, things are looking great. P.S. Would you be interested in pitching for Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas? I was like, oh yeah, obviously get the Powerpuff guy to do that. That's a perfect fit for that.
Yeah.
But it happens to be one of my all-time favorite novels. So for me, I'm like, yeah. But then I wouldn't do it because I would psych myself out. I'm like, I can't do that. That book is too important to me. I love that book. There's no way I could do justice to it. So I just wouldn't do it, you know?
You were putting off the drawings. And
So eventually they said, they're waiting to see something. Are you going to do this? I said, give me a deadline. They said Monday. I'm like, fine. Drew something, sent it off, and then I was like, damn it, I blew it. I just knew I didn't get it. And then 2 days later they said, you're done Powerpuff Girls. You're going to spend the next year adapting Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. Because the estate loved it, so I'm like, wow. And I'd found out, after the fact, they had been looking for a long time for the right fit for the artists for this project. They'd gone to all kinds of people before me. Obviously, I wasn't their first choice. They hadn't thought of me because I do Powerpuff Girls. But I guess when they, somebody suggested, what about Troy Little? And they went, that could work. And when they saw the pitch, they're like, that's what we were looking for. And nobody had given it to them. So that felt really good to me that I nailed it. But a lot of that is because I love the book so much that I couldn't do it a disservice. So I'm like, I'm never going to be happy with it. It's never going to live up to the book itself. Read the book. But I want to make it as good as I can to kind of fit. You've got the movie, you've got the novel, and this is other thing. And they'll kind of work together. And hopefully people like it. And I know because it's a journalism thing as well, a lot of journalists got into writing because of Hunter Thompson. And they were really not happy with the idea that somebody was going to come along who wasn't Ralph Steadman and do a comic book version of their Holy Grail novel. And what was really gratifying to me was after the book finally came out, the reviewers who would give the big caveat saying, you know, full disclosure, I love this book, da-da-da. When I heard it, I thought it was a bad idea, da-da-da. And they tell you all this stuff about why they thought it was going to be bad. And they're like, but it's actually really good. Why did you take so long?
20 sentences.
I know, everyone was like that. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, but for me, like, that was not only wonderful, but then I said to the publisher, you know, you should send me down to the Beverly Hills Hotel in LA. I'll dress like Hunter Thompson. Singapore slings with mezcal on the side. And we do a cross-country burn through the desert to Vegas and do a book tour. And they said, okay. So, yeah, they rented me a convertible and we did the whole Hunter Thompson book tour through Vegas. It was such a great time. So doing the book was great, and then kind of like reliving the footsteps of Hunter Thompson's travel was really cool as well.
I would like to ask you one small question, because I have the issue that you mentioned with the gas chamber. I remember reading this issue, and I don't know if I interpreted it good, so I need to ask, because there's one little section, this little thing here when Miss Sarabel is reading that book, and there's cuffs, right?
Yeah.
Cuffs and hearts. Is it romance criminal novel, or is it something else?
I think it was like around when 50 Shades of Grey was
Yeah.
super popular, so you put that in.
All right, so I guessed good. Thank you very much.
Good call.
Mystery solved.
Yeah.
Well, I would like to ask you also about your your personal stuff,
Yes.
your original comic books. What kind of stories you like to tell in your comic books? What kind of themes and meaning you would like to share with your readers? What are the stories you love to tell people?
Yeah, I tend to like things set in like some sort of fantasy element to it. So even if it could be like your average day student at school, if there's like some sort of supernatural or magical element, I like that kind of stuff. But my personal project that I've been self-publishing over the years, Halls of the Turnip King, that's more just silly comedy fantasy. Like it's not so much like deep meaning I need to tell the people. I'm just like, let's have some fun and have some fun gags, because it's about like this lazy, reluctant prince whose dad kind of like boots him out of the castle to go do his duty, like go make some alliances like with the dwarves, like the Dwarven Kingdom, to go do that. And he kind of messes up along the way because he's not very competent. And another creator-owned book that I did, I collaborated with a writer on, and it's called Ward's Valley. The writer's Bobby Curnow, who he's based out of San Diego, and he does the editing on the Pony comics for IDW, so that's how we got in contact. And his is about, it's also a fantasy, and it takes place in this forest. It's called Ward's Valley. And Ward's the gnome. He's kind of the overseer for the animals and stuff like. But he has to protect them from the trolls that have been showing up. Made out of mud, and they're kind of mysterious, the origin of them, and also the humans are starting to come into the ecosystem. So he's like, I don't know what these new species are, and I don't know how to protect the animals, and his method is just to be grumpy and tell them to go away, which doesn't work. But yeah, that's really good, because it kind of deals, like, it's in all ages, like it's for kids and adults. Anybody can enjoy it, but it's good because it's got that fun fantasy element, but also deals with themes of loss and getting over the past and moving forward, which is really nice, and it kind of makes it more poignant that way. And yeah, and moving forward, I'd like to do more stories like that. I love ponies, but I'd love to do more of those if I could, and like tell more personal stories, like personal themes and things I'm going through or have gone through in life. Just accepting yourself for who you are, those things, and growing up and kind of fitting into your own skin as you do so, and telling those kind of stories, but throwing some fantasy in there. That's kind of where I'd like to go with that. So.
Yeah.
Guys, you've got kids.
Yeah.
Yes.
How does your work influence your kids? Because
Well,
you both.
it's normal.
Do the same
It's
thing,
kind of
right?
normal to them in a weird way, but they love the girls now. They're 12 and a half, and they love going to the conventions with us when they can. And they've discovered manga and anime. So
Oh yes.
game over, game over
Yes.
for them. That's all they do is.
Yeah.
One of their favorite things to do though is like after school they'll say I'll go pick them up at school and they're like, can we go to the coffee shop and draw? Like
Yeah.
I keep them in sketchbooks constantly. They just
Yeah.
fill them with their characters and their drawings, and they'll just draw funny things to make each other laugh and stuff. So, you know, we all just draw all the time, really.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah,
Drawing
the
family.
5-year-old is a little young to be like, he's not really getting into the drawing yet, but he likes to read the comics. He loves being read to. Read me a book, and he's always, Mommy, draw me a Pikachu. Mommy, draw me a. So
You
I'm
draw
his
a lot.
on-demand Pokemon artist.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, so we just draw, or like he's really into the life cycle of frogs, so the eggs and the tadpoles, and then they lose the tail, grow the legs. He asks me to draw that a lot too, and he tries to draw his own frogs, but mostly for him I read to him and I draw him Pokemon on demand. That's
So
his
basically,
influence.
it's a fun thing to
Yeah.
have parents who draw, both of
Yeah.
them.
I think the kids enjoy it. Like
Yeah.
it's hard to tell where our studio in the home ends and their room begins because
Yeah.
it's all comic books and manga and toys and whatever.
Yeah,
So.
yeah.
I would like to ask you about one thing because do you in the now or in the near future, do you see yourself creating mostly or mainly your own creative own stuff, or do you like to have your own creative own stuff and also working with licensed titles like My Little Pony or Powerpuff Girls? Because as far as I know, because recently Chelsea Kane wrote on her Twitter that she is publishing manager with Image Comics, and she wanted to put everything into this project, and she sadly said that it doesn't work very well when you only concentrate on your creative on the stuff, because it don't bring money as much as
Yeah.
licensing stuff. So I would like to ask you, do you want to work into this situation when you only have your created own things, or do you like to have mixed work?
We both would probably rather if we would be able to do our own thing and make a living at it.
Yeah,
So a
but-
lot of the licensed work, it's great if you can find a project you enjoy, which we've luckily been able to do that.
Yeah.
It does take up most of the time.
Yeah.
So the stuff that we really want to do is always after hours, if there is such a thing.
Yes.
You know,
Is it
spare
20 days
time.
for something, right?
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
have to, you have
Yeah.
a short deadline.
Yeah,
you
Yeah.
have to
like
do
Brenda did her Turnip King book, like
It took 7 years
Yeah.
because, just everything else, like having to do the day job. And then I decided, why not start my career in comics with My Little Pony, get married, and have a kid all at once? That's easy, right? So, no,
Let's
it's
do
not
that.
that easy. I didn't pace myself, so it was all at once. But yeah, for the licensing, it depends on what the project is, because like I say, I approached ponies because it suited me, but to find something else like that, I tend to be kind of choosy, so that's why I'm not on a bunch of different things. So it really depends on what's being licensed. If there's something that really resonates with me, I'll go for that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And I was always hoping my Angora Napkin project would take off. I've spent almost 20 years working on these books and cartoons, and I kind of have to wrap it up because I'm like, if it was going to be a thing, it would be by now. I mean, it's done well enough that I got 2 books, and both those books were Eisner nominated, which was awesome. And we made an animated pilot, and that was great. And I got another book that's coming out, hopefully in the fall through Kickstarter. But I think it's like, okay, it's time to do something else and try some new things, you know? I was always hoping that would be my big project that would take off. Because it's so much fun to draw, and the characters are so silly, and I just like writing and drawing them. But,
Yeah.
oh well, I did that, now it's time to do something else.
Yeah.
I just want to ask you about your work with Kevin Eastman,
Oh, yeah.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle creator.
Yeah.
I just found that you are working with him with about 2 projects. I will read it because I didn't remember the whole titles.
Yes.
The graphic novel Drawing Blood.
Drawing Blood and the radically rearranged Ronin Ragdolls.
I
Yes. Yeah.
was a backer of it.
What's that?
I was a backer of it.
Oh yes. Excellent. Yes, man. Right there. That was a very cool thing and a random. I grew up with Ninja Turtles, black and white, Mirage Studios. I know. I see your shirt. issue 4 was my first Ninja Turtle comic, and so for me, like, getting to meet Kevin Eastman when I was on the Fear and Loathing book tour in San Diego was pretty crazy. I was doing a signing there, and they said, "Would you mind if Kevin Eastman sat next to you and did some signings?" I'm like, "Would I mind?" So he was super cool. We got to chat, and he's so humble and down to earth and great. And then a couple of years later, he just emails me out of the blue and says, "I got a project I think you'd be a really good fit on. Would you like to talk?" I'm like, no, I'm not like that, but he's just such a good guy that he's
That's
easy
how you
to,
feel in your mind.
Yeah, in your,
You're
in your
like,
brain.
I must have sounded, and no, you didn't sound, but in my mind.
So yeah, we started. He told me the idea of how he wants to develop this kind of meta fiction about this character Shane Bookman and his brother Paul Bookman, who created the Ragdoll characters in the '90s. Very much kind of a parallel with the Ninja Turtles thing, and so that got working with Ben Bishop, David Avalone, and Kevin as writers there, and we would kind of mix in. Kevin threw in some flashback scenes in the Drawing Blood book. I would draw the parts where Shane was hallucinating and having bad memories of trips. And then when we did the Kickstarter, one of the stretch goals was to do like the issue 1 Ragdolls comic that Shane and his brother created in the '90s. And when we hit the goal on the last day, we said, okay, we're doing this, you know. Kevin drew every page layouts, and we designed the cats together, me, Kevin, and Ben, until we got something we kind of liked. Each cat's named after an anime director, like Otomo, Tezuka, and Miyazaki. And we drew, I kind of took his layouts and drew my style over top of it, kind of thing, you know, to make it a tight illustration. So that's kind of how we made that issue 1 comic. And it just came out in North America. Kevin's first time back self-publishing since Ninja Turtles. Is trying to make this his new self-published project kind of thing. And we're working on the next one right now. Ben's working on the 2nd volume of Drawing Blood, and I've got, with David, we co-wrote 2 more issues of Ragdolls. And it's going to be in the next evolution of that. So it's going to be a lot of fun. As soon as I'm done the Rick and Morty project we just announced at D&D Live, I'm going to be moving over to finish that.
Well, we have last 3 minutes, and I cannot hold myself to ask one question because you mentioned anime and manga, and I just need to ask you, what is your favorite anime and manga?
Yeah, of course, growing up, I liked like Sailor Moon and anything by that group Clamp, like Cardcaptor Sakura and Magic Knight Rayearth that was my first one I saw from them, so that has an extra special place in my heart, is Magic Knight Rayearth. So those are my 2, and of course, it's funny I say my kid likes Pokemon. I love Pokemon because it was brand new when I was in maybe 5th grade. It was when it came out, and yeah, the ones on TV, like Vision of Escaflowne was on TV, and there's probably more, but those are like the main ones. Like, yeah,
I think
for me.
Star Blazers was the first one I ever seen. Star Blazers, Battle of the Planets, and then it got into Voltron, and Robotech was basically the gateway drug. But when Akira came out on VHS, I lost my mind. I was the only person on our island, Prince Edward Island, who had a copy of it, so everyone had to come to my house to watch it.
Yeah.
So I watched it a lot.
Yes.
But yeah, going from there was just, you know,
Yeah.
wow, there's so much to choose from. You know, I love Death Note, Yotsuba. I can't even remember them all. You've got so much manga on your shelves I haven't touched yet.
Yeah.
Okay, so we need to wrap up the thing. So thank you very much for for talking with us, and well, we hope we will see you soon again.
Yeah,
Awesome,
thanks
thank
for
you.
having us and
Thank
for
you very
chatting.
much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome time here in Poland. Great show.
Yes, great pierogi.